You need something? Hey, you wouldn't happen to know where the soccer nets are? My apartment's in the same area. I got a bad case of the brain fog, and I can't seem to remember which way to go. Really? Is this some sort of scam? I'll have you know, I got no creds. Not yet. I'm actually starving, but I think I have some canned goods at home. I've got some chronic health problems. Aches, pains, you name it, I got it. Most days I can deal with it, but sometimes my body doesn't respond at all, and I end up in the med bay. They put me on some pretty hard meds, and it takes a while for the fog to clear. The doc said to give it a few hours, but I'd rather not stick around this dump any longer than I have to. Andy, sing. Well, if I'm gonna owe anyone, I'd rather it be the house than the UC. All right, you win. Seeing as I got no one else, might as well roll the dice with a stranger. So, go on, lead the way.
Folks gotta look out for one another. That's why I stop always nice to see a fresh face around here. You stop in whenever you'd like. Sure I can. Just tell me who it's for, and we can get it sorted. I've got it right here. Is this for you to hear?
Well, I don't have any credits, so...
Then you're good. I already talked to Andy, and this one's on the house.
Thanks, Kay.
You're welcome, kid. It's just good to see you alive and well. You know, there was a time when you'd be in here every night.
Things change, Kay.
I know. Believe me, I know. And I get it's hard to come out here, but just... don't be a stranger, okay?
I'm sorry. I'll try not to.
Good. I'm glad we got that sorted. Here's the soup. Be careful, it's a little hot.
Here we are. Home sweet home. At the end of the day, home is home, even if it's a bad one. But thanks for the help. I probably would have found it on my own, but it would have been a chore. Oh, right, the soup from Kay's. Man, it's been a long time since I had a warm meal. You might say that. Before I got hurt, I used to stop by Kay's every night for a soup and a sandwich. It didn't matter how bad my day was, or how empty my pockets were. As long as I had my food and my beer, I'd be good. All that weight would just wash away. And to be honest, I haven't felt that feeling in ages. Until now. So, you doing this for me, it means a lot. Thanks. Thanks. I didn't know what to make of you at first. Not often you can trust a stranger down here. Well, glad I did.
Hey, if you're looking for a weapon specialist, I could really use the work to pay off some debts. The kind that need to be paid off quickly, or else I'm in big trouble. And if you don't mind, I'd kind of like to keep the details of that to myself. Unless you're agreeing to hire me, of course. I'm not asking for that much. Just my fair share. You're asking me to work for less than the going rate? Why would I do that? Yeah, I've heard of you. I do like working with the best. I'm glad you understand the position I'm in here. That's a good one. Well, I guess something's better than nothing. I'll cut my price, but I'm not going any lower. Really? I mean, thanks. Sorry, I'm just used to hearing no. Thanks for giving me a chance. I'm on my way.
Huh. Not used to people coming up to me. The suit usually scares them off. Although I guess that's my fault, isn't it? I guess you could say I've always had it. Once you've been all over, like I have, you might find yourself in something like this too. Yeah, well, I go all over. A little psychological warfare up front tends to make things easier. Retired, actually, from too many lives to count. But I've been all those things, yeah? And a few more. I spend a lot of time in the fringes these days. God help you if you come across something someone wants. You'd think it was things like civilizations and factions that cause people to want to shoot each other. No, even without that, it's still winner take all. You're on to me. Of course. That's what makes the reality so tragic. Wait a second. I think I'm in danger of having a real conversation with someone for a change. Better stop here. I'm sure we'll see each other again.
Hey, I haven't seen you around here. Best not be looking for trouble, right? I've seen—
Oh, did you find the book, Dragon Star Force Volume 1, The Heroes of the Dragon Star? Wow! I can't believe you actually went and got it for me. I really appreciate you helping me out. Here's something for your trouble.
Hey, it's my personal savior. Thanks again for the assist. Hey, good to see you again. Still think there might be room for me on your crew? Okay, I'm game. I could use a break from the Sol system. Give me a few to get my things together, then I'll get to work. See you in the space lanes, Captain.
building at the end of the path and down into the colony below. Stay safe and enjoy your visit.
Thanks for taking the time to talk. I wanted to ask you about the artifact you found on Vectera. When you pulled it from the rock, held it in your hands for the first time, how did you feel? No, I don't think you understand. I know about the visions, the light, and the music. How did you feel inside? What were your thoughts? Oh my goodness. That must have been terrifying. When it comes to the artifacts, it never ceases to amaze me how the science, well, simply fails. If there is, the artifacts are doing a heck of a job hiding it. The artifacts are so different, so alien, and I'm certain one of them reached out and spoke to you. Quite the mystery. Well, judging from the fact that both you and Barrett claim to have heard music, I've made the leap that the artifact was reaching out. Music composition might not consist of words and sentences, but I'll be damned if that isn't an attempt at language. Agreed. Unfortunately, there's no way that I know of to reply, and believe me, I've been trying to gather data on the damn things for years. Does that really surprise you? A universal mystery left unsolved for God knows how long? Oh, I've been dreaming about solving this puzzle from the beginning. I knew I picked the right person for the job. Look, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to talk, and for keeping an open mind. And I also wanted to say, well, I'm pleased we're on this journey together. It's the best decision I've made in quite a long time. Interesting. The last thing I expected to stumble across at this type of settlement is a museum. Might be worth a look around.
Enjoy your visit here.
Feel free to look around, but don't touch.
It's been a while. I can't imagine living here. These people sure are hardies.
Careful. There are some dangerous areas around here that are not part of any tours.
I don't mind the tourists. They help the local economy.
No disrespect, but I'd appreciate if you let me and my family be. We get a lot of tourists out this way, but most of them aren't so bold as to strike up conversations with us. What's your deal? You seem genuine enough. So what can I do for you? From what I know about farming elsewhere, it's largely the same. Big difference is that we need to import or make our own soil. And we need to be extra careful with our temperature control. Titan's surface is frozen, and it's not much better just below it with the ice caves. Then it's just a matter of artificial sunlight and supplying CO2 for the crops. It's not too challenging. Well, for one, it's my wife Mara's farm. I just had the good fortune of marrying into it. It's been in her family for generations. We're the best source of fresh produce in the colony. Not like that processed junk we get from off-world, and certainly nothing like that eyesore chunks. No worries. You have yourself a day now.
That tour guide showed one of the kids a picture of some silly drawing he saw in Sidonia. Now I feel like it's popping up everywhere.
Don't mind me, I love talking with off-worlders like you. Running this farm with my family for the sake of our little colony is one of the greatest pleasures in life.
I always wonder what it's like where other people come from. Hello? I'm not really supposed to talk with tourists, but I kind of want to anyway. And I don't think my papa is paying attention. You're not going to tell him, are you? Thank you! I promise it'll be fun. I like talking to tourists. I get to learn so much about everywhere else, and they get to learn about here. Now what should we talk about? I think it's pretty fun. And I get to be around my mama and my papa all day, so that's cool. They say we all have to work a little, because it takes all of us to make the community work. Just like on Earth a really, really, really long time ago. Someday, I think it'd be cool to see other places and do other things, but this is fine for now. My mama says it's because he thinks we'd up and leave if we found out about the rest of the worlds out there. But I keep telling him, I love it here, and I love him, and I would never leave him. He doesn't believe it. He says the kids almost always want to leave when they grow up. But not me. Nope. I just want to visit somewhere else. Maybe. Not really. There's some, though. Most are around my age. We all go to school in the same room. I don't know. I've never been to any other schools. We mostly learn about the history of the Sol system and Earth and stuff like that until we get old enough to go on our learning vacation. That's when we get to leave to go to school somewhere else for a few years, or travel and visit other worlds, try out jobs and stuff. Oh, I can't wait. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me.
We take vandalism seriously here. You don't mess with history.
We're out of Chunk special sauce again. But trust me, the food's still great without it. Ooh. Welcome to Chunks. What can I get for you? Well, people gotta eat, you know? But seriously, I think we're just starting to get with the times a little. And I can't think of a better restaurant than Chunks to usher that in. I think corporate just saw New Homestead as an untapped market. Yeah, the locals may not eat it, but the tourists love having a taste of home. Oh, you had to go and ask the hard questions, huh? How can I pick just one? Chicken chunks, beef chunks, potato chunks, cheesesteak chunks, cheesecake chunks. You know what? I'm gonna cheat if you don't mind, and just say I love them all equally. If I'm completely honest, it is. And people are always saying how this Chunks can't compare to the real deal. And I just know it's because we never had that mouth-watering sauce. I've been in contact with some of the other restaurants out there, and they'll give me some, but they say they can't afford to send it, and I don't have a ship, so what am I to do? Wait, for real? You do that? You're not pulling my leg? Oh, yeah, right. I actually just got a message back from another Chunks before you got here, and they got a case ready to go for me. Just tell them you're there to pick it up for me, and it should be good to go. Thanks.
Welcome to Chunks. Please choose your Chunks. I still can't believe people actually live like this.
Well, what did we think of the tour?
Very informative. I didn't know about the methane harvesters before coming here.
The, Brown Horse Tavern, was it?
Hello there. The museum here is free to everyone. Hello there. Are you here to peruse our little museum exhibit?
Come back and see us again sometime, and I hope you'll consider another Starsap tour.
Ah, I could see how that might not be clear, given that it's displayed in the main concourse here. But if you take a look, you'll notice our collection of rare Earth antiquities salvaged from before the collapse. It's quite the unique glimpse into our past. If you have any questions about the exhibit or New Homestead, I'm happy to answer as best as I can.
Damn right. You've got to do something, or else next time it happens, I'm billing you.
It's an interesting story. New Homestead began as a scientific research base called the Titan Astrobase, back when space travel was in its infancy. The hope was that humanity would be able to discover simple alien life here given the moon's composition and water supply. When that ultimately failed, it was repurposed as a colony research base where scientists and engineers studied how to build colonies on inhospitable worlds. Then, finally, when gravity drives were commonplace and we started finding Earth-like planets, New Homestead was born as a living history community to preserve that past. When our early colonists learned of Earth's demise, they decided to take on the names of their cities of origin as a way to remember their heritage. Now, some may have been lost in translation over the years, and some may have taken it more seriously than others, but the names are mostly accurate. For instance, my family comes from the city of Lyon, in a country that was called France. I am Maurice Lyon, and I am the community elder. As the oldest living citizen at 96, my only job is to keep Earth history alive. I tell stories to the young people and the visitors from other worlds. Although my memory isn't what it used to be, I try my best to get the stories right. Sure, I'd love to. There was once a war, so big that they say all of the world was involved. This was actually the second time it happened. They fought because a terrible man named Hitler rose to power and slaughtered many innocents. Millions were lost. Even the colony war pales in comparison. Why, certainly. It's what I do. There was a time when huge monstrosities called dinosaurs ruled over Earth, long before humans existed. They were similar to some of the larger life forms you might see elsewhere in the settled systems. Their reign ended when I can never remember if it was a comet, an asteroid, or a meteor that hit the Earth. Whatever it was, it nearly wiped out most of the life at that time. Let me think of a good one. A long time ago, thousands of years, humans built a wall so large it spanned the northern length of one of Earth's largest empires, China. They called it the Great Wall of China, and it was meant to keep out invading hordes. If I recall correctly, it didn't always work as well as they had hoped. I'll have to look it up again. Memory's not what it once was. Of course, certainly. We have several items in our collection that we rotate in and out over time, but they all originate from the same place, Earth. We have everything from toys to antique technology to sports memorabilia. We even used to have an old Earth vehicle, but we had to sell it when we ran out of space for it. Most of our collection was donated by fellow Earth enthusiasts and historians who felt it belonged close to the homeland here in the Sol system. Thanks for visiting.
Hello.
Too late. Eyes on the Earth just once.
Did you see those wind turbines out there? Hooray!
New Homestead is a living history. These are real people.
Well, hello there, and welcome to my little shop. Are you visiting New Homestead for the first time?
I'm sorry. What don't you get?
Oh, nice. You know, it's always such a pleasure to meet people from other worlds. Or just space. I don't judge. I'm Jay. I'm happy to help you find what you're looking to buy or take a look at whatever you want to sell. Trades of all kinds are welcome here. Or if you have any questions for me about the shop, the merchandise, or even just New Homestead in general, I'm happy to help you. We used to, but not anymore. Believe it or not, the new Homestead Tourism Board decided a while back to do away with souvenirs. We don't really have the resources or facilities to make them here ourselves, and it was decided that anything less than that would seem exploitive of our people and inauthentic. Only thing we have are these souvenir slates about the history of New Homestead. Tell you what, I've got an extra one here that another guest left behind a while back. You can have it. I love them. Most of us in New Homestead appreciate what tourism does for our economic livelihood, so we go out of our way to make guests feel welcome. Some are indifferent about it, while a few others, I won't name names, are downright resentful of all the tourists and would prefer to be left alone. But that being said, I believe our generally friendly demeanor is a large part of what drives people to keep coming back. Glad you asked. I'm looking for all sorts of things. Anything, really. Clothing, weapons, jewelry, even stuff they consider junk. You name it. We don't get a lot of off-world stock, so I offer to buy things from travelers. Anything they're willing to part with. Between you and me, people around here talk a lot about tradition and whatnot, but even they get curious about what other worlds have to offer. Sure thing. I'm also interested in buying if you have anything for sale. Take care.
Starsap Tours, just see me, Bill Starsap, if you want a truly one-of-a-kind touring experience of New Homestead.
It's one thing to learn about early colony life. It's another. But to experience it.
That we churn our own butter. He completely bought it.
Ice mining operations are unusual, but if they're run properly, they can prove to be quite lucrative.
Pull up a seat. I'll take care of you.
They're gonna think we're
Did you know the
old-fashioned.
museum here is
Then
full
they
of
already
old Earth artifacts? Cool, huh?
They already found ancient curiosity.
I'm glad you're handling the messy work.
Welcome. I'm Anya. Is this your first time with us at the Brown Horse Tavern? Oh, well, thank you for joining us. You're in for a real treat. We've got an assortment of food and drinks, some of which follow homemade recipes that have been passed down over hundreds of years. So, what can I do for you? Oh, hardly. The locals pretty much stay away from chunks, so whenever they don't feel like cooking themselves and want a fresh meal, they come to me. Only the tourists eat that junk. But don't tell that to my husband. He manages the chunks. I love him, but he's a bit of a fanatic about it. You mean the Brown Horse? Well, it's only the longest continuous running restaurant since humans started settling outside of Earth. There's a lot of history within these walls, and some damn fine food and drink, if I say so myself. This place has been in my family for generations. My however many, great-grandmother opened it when the first colony started on Titan. Back then, it was a simple mess hall that she chose to put a little extra love and flavor into. And now, it's the pride of New Homestead.
So then I told him
So
that
long.
we churn
Tell
our
your
own
friends about
butter.
us.
He completely bought it.
You didn't.
I did. I know I shouldn't have, but I just wanted to see how they'd react.
But aren't they gonna think we're even more old-fashioned than they already believe?
That's a good point. They already gawk at us like we're some sort of ancient curiosity.
Oh, I'm just trying to have a little fun. But you're probably right.
How about those brown blackouts last week.
I know. I'm just glad the auxiliary power picked up. Remember that time a few years back where everyone had to huddle together for warmth?
Oh, the tourists hated that.
Well, Joyce says she's on it. Something about the turbines freezing up again.
Joyce is great at what she does. I'm sure she'll handle it.
Someone's got to talk to Joyce about these blackouts. I was hoping you could tell me some more about this.
I can't wait to go away on my learning vacation when I grow up.
You wouldn't believe how many off-worlders think hiking the surface of Titan is all fun and games. But a lot of thrill seekers end up in my office. Great! Another tourist. Let me guess. You slipped on the ice and need a doctor to wrap your sprained ankle? I appreciate that you're trying to set me at ease, but that might as well be the same. Sorry for how I responded. It's not you, it's me. I'm just frustrated about all the non-native people I need to treat when our own still need help. Anyway, what can I do for you? It's a harsh world, but as long as you're inside or wear a suit when going out, you'll be fine here. There's no breathable air on the surface, and you'll quickly freeze to death outside without protective gear, but otherwise the hazards are minimal. New Homestead was an early colony research base and has stood the test of time. It's safe, and it's proof that people can live pretty much anywhere. Don't worry so much. I don't. They make a mockery of New Homestead culture. And on top of it, they're reckless. It's like I said before, I feel like I'm treating them more often than our own people. The problem is that most of the tourists' injuries are from preventable accidents, things our people know how to avoid. And often I have to take care of them first because they can't leave with their injuries, so I have to put off seeing my regular patients. So not only am I working extra hard for people who have little respect for me, it comes at the expense of our own. Actually, maybe there is. I have an idea that may be best suited for someone relatively unknown, instead of myself. I've got a mountain of work and a reputation to maintain. So I bought a realistic monster costume. The plan was to wear it, scare tourists away, and start a rumor about terrible creatures living on Titan. I figure that once word gets around, tourism will take enough of a dive to give me some relief. Maybe, I'm not sure. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't have any other ideas. The tourism board flat out won't help me, and I don't have money in the budget to hire additional help. And you know these tourists will believe anything they see and hear. I think it's worth a shot. Worst case scenario, I'm back to square one. Oh, good. I was hoping not to have to do it myself, so I'm glad to have a volunteer. Here's the costume. I think this will work best on the surface, so just find a group and run up to them, acting like a convincing alien monster. With any luck, they'll run screaming and book the next flight out of here.
You off-worlders have it made.
Oh, you don't really want to talk to me. I'm just a nobody from the crates. Besides, I'm not really good at talking to tourists about New Homestead. If you're really interested in our history, talk to Maurice. He's a lot better at that than I am. I feel like it sometimes. I don't have many friends, and I'm struggling to stay in my undergrad program. It feels like I'm never going to get out of here and make a name for myself. Anyway, if we're going to talk, maybe we should talk about something else. It's not as bad as you'd think. I like talking to off-worlders, especially people my age. It gives me ideas for what I want to do when I'm done with school. Because, honestly, I'm not sure I want to stay here. It'll always be my home, but as soon as I can afford to, I'd love to explore my options. The crates are what we call the living quarters for the poor people, like me. They're made from old shipping containers. We have to make do with the space we have here. They're comfortable enough, I guess. And no one on Titan is well off to begin with, but you can tell that people look down on us, especially some of the tourists. Okay, well, no, not the studies specifically. Like, I get good grades when I'm able to apply myself. But I'm poor. I just don't have the kind of money to be a full-time student and support myself. Even living in the cheap-ass crates. I keep having to take odd jobs just to put food on my plate. And when I do, my grades suffer. I just feel like I'll be stuck in a rut forever. What? Really? I don't know what to say. This is beyond kind of you. I mean, I don't even know you, but... Wow. Thank you.
I'm pleased that you realize the importance of a decent education. Okay.
I know you didn't have to give me money, but thanks. I appreciate it. Later.
Lots of history here, if you're into that sort of thing.
We used to get more tourists than we do these days.
It's a little weird that people come here to see what early colony life was like.
It's always so cold.
This is a boring assignment.
You get used to the methane processing smell after a while.
I could really go for some of Anya's cooking over at the Brown Horse.
If you need medical attention, see Dr. Lakota. But a word of warning, she really doesn't care for tourists.
That's way more awesome.
Lots to learn at the United Colony's premier living history exhibit. Come to New Homestead for the history, stay for the quaint charm. Excellent! You won't regret it! My tours are one of a kind! Now, there's just the matter of price. The going rate for a genuine Starsap tour is only 100 credits. Well, 100 credits is very reasonable, I think. I assure you it wasn't intentional. I really should have been upfront about the price. I thought maybe you saw one of the flyers. Maybe I could do something for you. Sorry, but I can't. Look, I'd like to help, but... Tell you what, I like you. This one's on the house, but if you enjoyed the tour, I'd really appreciate if you'd tell all your friends about me when it's done. So let's get this show on the road, eh? All right, so this is New Homestead's main concourse. This underground area didn't exist when the original outpost, Titan Astro Base, was finished in 2130. Follow me. We'll come back here by the end of the tour and talk about the museum collection. But first, let's go see where people live. Now remember, these people aren't actors. They actually live here, so try to be respectful of that. While the original inhabitants of the Titan Astro Base lived in pods like you saw up above, they transitioned down here when this section of the base was finished in 2144. Space is extremely limited, so you'll notice some overflow here, but more residences also exist on lower levels, which are inaccessible to tours. I'll stop at each of our destinations if you want to look around, or if you have any questions for me. Have any questions so far? The original Titan Astro Base had more habitation pods on the surface connected to some of the old structures you may have seen in the back. As the colony grew, the base was expanded underground, and those hab units were recycled into materials used down here. I'm not sure the exact count, but New Homestead is a fairly small colony. What you see is what you get for the most part, except for some other people who live in the private lower levels. Some, particularly security, and yours truly, even commute from other worlds. Sadly, it's difficult to get additional construction done inside these underground caverns. So for now, additional populations are housed in these stacks of old shipping crates. As you might expect, this is where some of the less wealthy can afford to live. It's not glamorous, but they are functional and cozy. Alrighty, we'll be taking the residential elevator to the farms area on the surface level. This way, please. Let's leave these good people alone for now and go check out the farms. Follow me up the elevator.
Don't stay outside for too long here on Titan. You'll freeze solid without the proper protection.
New Homestead's farms are the beating heart of the colony. Without them, the original outpost would have shriveled and died. These pods are sealed and climate controlled, the perfect environment for growing the hydroponic vegetation needed for survival in the early days of the colony.
Sure would be nice to get off-world sometime.
Thanks again for taking the time to answer questions for me. I learned a lot from you.
Any questions about the farms? These days, it's a mix of what you find elsewhere in the galaxy, but in the olden days, it was all brought over from Earth. It was a lot of hardy root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beets, and such, supplemented with corn, peas, green beans, soy, etc., which didn't always grow as well. Good question. It's largely the same, because this was the colony that pioneered the techniques you see elsewhere. But you'll notice that the farms here are smaller and staffed by humans, not robots. Things here are a little more old-fashioned compared to some of the large factory farms you'll find elsewhere in the settled systems. Oh, they are indeed. Colonists still cultivate plant-based food for their own consumption here in New Homestead. It's less vital to their survival these days, as they also import supplemental food from other colonies, including meats, dairy, and synthetics. However, most citizens here take pride in a New Homestead-grown, sustainable diet. Onward it is! We'll be stopping by the Brown Horse Tavern later in the tour, which uses many of these locally sourced ingredients in their cooking. But for now, it's just a short way to our next stop. Follow me! So, the old biolabs are just on the other side of this building, believe it or not. We'll step on through the hallway there.
You
They're
all
not
can travel
in
with
use
stars,
anymore, but the
someone's
colony
got to
has
respect and
faithfully
preserve the
recreated them as a historical exhibit, true to the original purpose of the Titan Astrobase.
Hi
Sadly,
there.
they're undergoing
Always
some
nice to see
light
your face.
renovation. Otherwise, there'd be interactive activities for kids to learn about how they used to search for microbial life here.
Welcome to New Homestead.
Pardon the dust, but I can still answer some questions about the old Titan Astrobase biolabs. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot to mention that. That's what this place was originally called. When NASA divested its interest in the Astrobase and turned it over to the people back in 2185, they renamed it New Homestead and established it as a historical site. Funny you should ask! Sadly, none. See, NASA funded the Titan Astrobase project because conditions seemed ripe for primordial life to form in Titan's methane pools. They tested many different sites, performed deep core ice drilling, and more, yet nothing turned up. Well, NASA defunded the xenobiology program in 2132, but a scientist by the name of Catherine Neely proposed research into advanced colony building on inhospitable worlds. So, by 2135, work began on what would ultimately set us all up to create habitats anywhere humans dared to explore. These very labs housed the computer systems used in that research. That and general storage for the colony. Lots of storage. You got it. On to our next stop. Next, we'll be heading outside, so make sure to check those seals on your suit because it's a bit chilly out there. We're going out into the frozen wastes of Titan to see what powers this planet. Watch your step outside, by the way. The ice can be slippery if you're not careful. The goal is to keep people out of Dr. Lakota's infirmary. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yes. Powering New Homestead. As you might imagine, generating energy was a real challenge back in the day because the technology was much more crude then. But crude or not, it was that technology that sustained the old Astro base. And it might surprise you to learn that the same technology is still working today. The interesting thing about this old colony is that it's mostly powered by clean, renewable energy. You'll see one of the methods used on the horizon up ahead. That's right, New Homestead's famous wind farms. This spot was chosen for the colony in part because of its constant winds. These turbines have been integral to the colony's function since its establishment as a cheap, mostly reliable source of electricity. So, let's talk about wind power, shall we? Mostly. I'm sure you've noticed the occasional brownouts. I guess these old machines have a habit of freezing up, what with all the ice out here. There's some methane on reserve for critical life support systems, but everything else here is otherwise powered by the units you see here. You're looking at a piece of history! Sure, wind power is used throughout the galaxy, but these people were able to make do with it for hundreds of years! It's impressive that was all they had back then, and still make it work to this day! You're right. Most surface wind on Titan isn't too terribly strong, but here, the altitude and other conditions are perfect for sustained wind power. Like many worlds with atmosphere, the higher you go, the windier it gets. You're the boss. Let's go. Moving right along, we're going to learn about Titan's great natural resources. Titan is rich with hydrocarbons like methane and ethane. Surely you saw huge pools of this stuff on your descent into New Homestead. I like to think they add to the natural beauty of this world. Though, of course, stay away from them because, like anything beautiful, they can be dangerous. Just like my last ex-wife's pet. She had this gorgeous, I don't know what you'd call it, creature. The guy that sold it to her couldn't tell her what it was or where it was from. I don't think it was even a legal sell, to be honest. The thing was very easy on the eyes. Feathers, all the colors of the rainbow. Nasty bite, though. Wound up in the hospital and almost lost my hand. Still not enough for her to get rid of the dang thing. Anyway, there's a reason she's my ex-wife. But enough about me. We were talking about methane and other resources, right? Hey, can you believe it? Back in the 20th century on Earth, they used to fight wars over natural resources like this and petroleum. They had this whole moon here, basically made of hydrocarbons in their own backyard. They just couldn't get to it. Incredible how far we've come. New Homestead is home to one of the oldest and largest methane processing plants in the settled systems. Every year, UC engineers go through a painstaking, month-long maintenance process. That's how this place has remained operational as long as it has. I'm not going to take you too close to the machinery, liability and all, but I can still answer questions. Questions? Fire away! It's not as if they shut down for a month. It's not shut down at all, actually. See, this place is built with redundant systems, so they can shut it down piece by piece and suffer only a reduction in throughput. During that time, the UC gets more of its resources from other places, allowing New Homestead to maintain what it needs. Exports mostly, since this world is so So methane-rich and has the infrastructure for it, a lot of the UC's methane comes from Titan. Of course, new homesteaders use it themselves for everything from generating heat to turning it into breathable oxygen via modern science. Oh, no one's ever asked me that before. Something to do with methane-eating microbes, I believe? I honestly don't know. Sorry. Okie dokie, artichoke. There will be time for more later anyway. So, this next stop is a bit of an interesting one. I only recently made it part of the tour. Fun fact, it's also the only natural landmark on the tour. What we're about to see is a glacial spire we affectionately call Ymir's Horn. This colus used to be named after a character in a popular fantasy novel, but it was changed a couple hundred years ago to avoid any potential litigation. Now, what's a colus, you might say? Colus derives from the Latin word for hill, and scientists only gave names to groups of hills on a planet's surface. So in reality, the term you hear more often is the plural, coles, with an E. You probably don't hear it very often where you're from, because it was usually a term reserved for unexplored planets, back when they didn't have the technology to describe what they were seeing firsthand. Because of that, the term is much more common in the Sol system, but you still hear it occasionally in reference to uncharted worlds. This planet's full of them, though, and they like to preserve that history here. So here it is, Ymir's Horn. You're free to take a closer look if you like. According to ancient Norse mythology, Ymir was the first Jotun, a frost giant. In the legend, they were both male and female and gave birth to the progenitors of all giants from their armpits. Ymir even predated the Norse gods, who, as it turns out, killed Ymir to fashion the earth and all of humanity from the corpse. It's a fascinating story, and the horn here is a fitting tribute to it. How about that? You really know your stuff. Maybe you should be the one giving the tour. I kid. I'm not sure. I heard someone say that before. Something about the worn-down remains of an ancient volcano producing ice via steam? I don't know. It sounds like you understand this stuff better than I do. Excellent. On to the next stop, then. So, we're gonna head back inside through the methane processing plant. Try not to touch anything on your way. We want to make sure to respect Dr. Lakota's wishes to be safer around here. That brings me to another point. You'll notice the people around here have last names related to where their families originated from on Earth as a way to remember the past. The museum curator, Maurice Leon, has more information about that if you're interested. You can find him inside the main concourse. Loves talking about it. You'll find most of the locals here are very friendly to tourists like yourself. Tourism is a major draw to this colony these days, and I respect that. Most of them are happy to talk at length about what they do here. Their rugged lifestyle is a point of pride for a lot of these folks.
There's always asked how I can live
such an
here.
important part of the colony's
Wonder how they can live
livelihood.
anywhere else.
It's important that the techs notice any issues and react to them quickly. Anyway, we're headed into the ice mines. It's a natural spring where water bubbles up from deep below, but due to the cold, it keeps freezing as it reaches the surface.
Sure would be nice to get off-world sometime.
Feel free to look around, but don't touch.
Hi there. Always nice seeing a new face.
Off-worlders always ask.
What else can I tell you about the ice mines? I wouldn't recommend it. First, it's an active work site. Second, it still needs to be filtered and checked for contaminants. But don't worry, we'll stop somewhere for refreshments before the tour is over. Good question. I believe it has something to do with not wanting to contaminate the water with methane and other chemicals. The ice helps prevent impurities in the water. At least this is what I've been told. Not all. Some water is created as a byproduct of methane processing, but that's usually saved in the emergency reserves. Sounds good. Let's keep going then. We have just one more stop before we're done with the tour.
Careful. There's some dangerous areas around here that aren't part of any tours.
That delicious smell is making me hungry. Can I answer anything about the brown horse? Easy. All the other ones fell to ruin when we abandoned Earth. There were technically older ones on Mars, but those have long since shuttered or been replaced. Anya Seattle is the current owner of the brown horse. It's been in the Seattle family for generations. But Anya will be able to tell you more herself. Feel free to ask her. It doesn't feel right coming from me when she's standing right over there. Ooh, that's a tough one. I honestly love everything Anya serves here. I'd be doing her a disservice to recommend one dish over another. You want the real answer? Order one of everything. Okay then. All right, we're headed to the last stop, right back where we began. Feel free to check out the museum exhibit. concourse here. These displays are full of rare Earth trinkets salvaged from before humanity left, and Maurice is happy to talk about the collection. The museum's curator, Maurice, will be happy to talk to you if you want to know more. Well, that's that! I hope you enjoyed Starcept tours as much as I enjoy giving them. Oh, wow. I really appreciate it. You know, I rely on tips from good people like you, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. Enjoy the rest of your stay in New Homestead.
Wow, very generous. As long as you're throwing around money, maybe you wouldn't mind tossing some my way.
Take care!
We should have a... Remember our last conversation, when you told me the artifacts made you feel like you were being pulled across the entire galaxy? Well, it got me thinking. So I dove into our archives and started looking through Constellation's older journal entries. Just because I wasn't familiar with the experience you described doesn't mean the same might have been true for my predecessor. Unfortunately, no. Other than you and Barrett, there were no records of direct encounters with the artifacts. I have to admit, though, I did get more than a bit sidetracked reminiscing about old times. Really? I'm surprised that I haven't. After reading those journals, all of the pleasant memories of my time spent with Aja just started flooding back. Aja Mamasa. She was the youngest member of Constellation when it was founded. Only took her 15 years to reach chair. Sorry, I sometimes get so caught up in my own bubble, I forget that I wasn't the first. She absolutely was. Aja was the one that taught me the ropes at Constellation and took me under her wing as her protege. Yeah, I thought so too. That's why I adopted her methods. You know, Aja and I logged quite a few interesting discoveries together. But it was the journey itself that I'll never forget. Exactly. For me, it was all about the quieter moments. There was nothing quite like sitting back and watching space bend while listening to Aja spin vivid stories to fill the time. Oh, I find that sort of cozy isolation the best way to really get to know someone. At this point, I'd say you've graduated from protege and moved up the ladder. A bit. You know, all this talk about Aja reminds me that my time with her was a gift. I miss her dearly. I respected her, and I considered her a dear friend, but we weren't in love. Had that been true, I would have resigned my post and moved to Parima 2 instead of remaining at Constellation. Come to think of it, if we're ever out that far, perhaps we could pay her a visit, and I could make proper introductions. Well, I don't expect you to be a carbon copy of Aja. Just be yourself. You see, it's clear that we share the same hunger to discover what's out there. And that, well, that's what intrigues me about you. I don't know if I deserve to be that close to anyone right now. If you knew about the things that I've done, the way my life's unfolded, I think your opinion of me might change. Please, give me some time. I have to go.